For this arm day, we're gonna be starting with this little V. There's the kinds that don't have the rubber on them as well, but this is the one we're gonna use today for now. All right, so basically just grabbing it the way it looks like you grab it. So the hands will be locked in the bottom here. And then pulling in so the elbows stay at the side. And then from all the way up here, make a half circle, make a whole arc with your fists from the top down to the bottom. And now this, because the hands are closer together, it's going to be working a little bit more of the outside of the arm. And you'll notice too, as this motion goes through, you can see the tricep moves as it's operating. There's a different set of muscles that's activated from here than when it's down here. So with that being said, you want to make sure that while you're doing this, there's no momentum being used. You're not doing something like this, pushing down. The goal is not to get the weight down. The goal is to get every fiber in your arm to be able to have that weight at some point in time. So you want a good slow motions. And the reason you want to do these momentum and these different like pulling it down, this kind of stuff, is because your body doesn't like to do this. This is an unnatural thing for your body to do. So you have to keep it in line mentally. You have to tell it, slow down and do what I'm telling you to do. So get every single muscle to fire, because your body is an efficiency machine. It doesn't want to do that. So looking at these, there's a couple cautions about these. Elbows at your ribs is the best place for them, because if you have your elbows out here, it's easy to like hyperextend them while you're trying to get this down. And as well, when they're at your ribs, make sure that they stay locked in, the right muscles used. Because it'll also help you to make sure you're not using momentum. You can do this a little bit where you're pulling it down a little bit. That is not the goal here. So keep elbows at the ribs and you should be good. Now, if you find yourself crouched like up and over it, if you're kind of moving forward and you're over it like this, you're still getting a tricep workout, but what it means is there's too much weight, because what that is the rest of your body going, if I need to get this down, we're gonna have to activate somebody else too. And it actually ends up being a lower pec exercise when you do that. You're actually doing your pecs as well. So make sure your body is upright, straight back, and you're getting it all the way up to all the way down. Some people call it easy bar, some people I call it bendy bar. All right, we're doing another tricep exercise. This one, when you're using this bar, you'll be holding it on the wide grips. And these have different bends to it, because if I'm doing it wide and I push down like this, it puts my hands at a weird angle. So whenever you're grabbing this bar, you generally want to hold it to where just your hands are at a comfortable 45. So if you're in the middle, then if you're in the middle, you generally want to grab it like this. Now, if I was going to be pulling it downward, I want it like this. So your hands should stay comfortable. That's the point of the bends of this bar. So hold it however is actually comfortable and intuitive to you. And you got to mess with it, work with it to kind of see where that's going to be. All right. So, wide grip. We're going to generally do the same motion. Elbows at the ribs, and then down. And because this is a wide position for these tricep extensions, it's going to be operating a little bit different spot on the triceps. These are going to end up doing more of the inside of the tricep, not the out. So the same principles apply. No momentum, no speed changes. Nice and slow all the way through. You want your hands to draw an arc. They want a half circle. So it's not the weight that's going down. It's your hands tracing a circle around your elbow. Okay. So anytime you're working a muscle, you want to do some kind of an exercise where the muscle is very stretched out. So we're doing tricep. Okay. I hold this here. And then because I have shoulders that don't like me very much, I have to be careful how I get weight over my head. So I'm gonna go here, pull it up. Now I have it on my shoulder like this, like a bag of potatoes. Now I can take one arm and do this. So the goal here, stepping forward, just to brace, keep your back straight. Now I'm gonna have this elbow pointing up at the ceiling, and that's gonna pull this up and have this nice and stretched. Have this hand all the way back to basically my left shoulder. And then from here, I'm gonna keep my elbow pointed up and now just get my hand to touch that line towards the ceiling. So over to the side, up to the top. Side, and then the top. This will test your shoulder's strength. So until you have a shoulder that's got some good stability, this may be difficult. It's also going to be difficult if your shoulder is tight. This will need your shoulders to be open and loose to get that angle and have that power in it. Okay? Now I'm going to switch it out. Okay. Elbow up. Might be a little easier to have this countered. Elbow up. Other hand towards the left shoulder. This is the shoulder that's a little tighter for me. And then pointing up. Okay. I'm gonna take it both hands, like a bag of potatoes, put it back down. So that's an exercise I'm gonna do at the end. At the end of an arm day, I'm gonna start getting smaller and smaller muscles that are activating. At the beginning, you wanna get all the big muscles, as you know, like a larger compound motions are more welcome at the beginning of a workout. But as you start exhausting and as you start burning all the fuel out, there are still some few little fibers left in there that are cheating and not doing their job. So you wanna get more and more isolated to the smaller and smaller range of motion. So that's something, because it's over the head, it's gonna be more difficult to do that with higher weight. So that's what I do at the end of exercises to finish up an arm day. So for bicep curls, you can end up using a bench, or you could use a bicep curl. I prefer the bench. I like to put the bench angle up and then be able to kind of move my body around however I need it. I find those machines to be really restrictive, a little claustrophobic on a machine. But yeah, you can move a bench around as well, which is convenient. Try to be considerate though. If you know that there's not many open benches, probably don't take one from the bench area. You know, if it's a crowded time of day, then don't be that person. Just try to be polite about that. Okay, we're gonna work on a bicep thing. All right, so you're gonna get this. Okay, resting right here in the armpit here. And now the idea behind this, to make sure that this gets done correctly, is to keep your elbow touching the bench. That's the most important thing. As long as the elbow is touching the bench, then the point of this isolation here in this preacher curl is to make sure your shoulder doesn't get involved and that you're not able to, like when you're doing a bicep curl normally, you can do a curl, but what can often happen is while you're doing the curl, you end up pulling your whole arm forward. And what that's doing is you're making this part of your shoulder, your front delt, ends up doing some of the work, and then your bicep gets to cheat. So because your body's an efficiency machine, you have to sit there and actually pin it down. So one way to just make sure this gets done easily and correctly is to just find a way to brace it. With the elbow stuck here, then the shoulder can't do any extra work. So from here, hand at just whatever position's comfortable, palm up, down, basically touch the weight to the chair, and then back up. Now with these, because this is such a strange exercise, and this is not what the bicep is actually made for, the bicep is made to assist your back whenever you're carrying something, or like if you're carrying a baby or whatever, or if you're pulling something down, your bicep will be assisting there, but mainly the muscle's your back. So biceps are a very specific muscle that don't like to be operated like this. And while you're doing these, you'll feel these tendons in here, the big tendons in between your forearm and your upper arm. Those can stress out pretty quick in this motion. So be sure when you're doing this that you don't come to 100% open. You don't want to do that, because that's not a state where the muscle actually has any power. Stretching open too far like that can be bad for you. So just make sure that it goes to like 95%, 99% here, elbow on the bench, and then the hand is a little bit of a tiny little bit of a bend. You don't want to go all the way open, just to be safe and be careful about your different soft tissue in there. And then once this starts getting more difficult and you're not able to get that last rep, pull your elbow into the chair and squeeze this up. The goal is not to pull this back, it's to pull the elbow down into the chair. That's what you want to do mentally to get the last power to that last couple reps to make sure you can get them all done. So, bicep curl. Okay. Now, using the same bench or preacher curl machine that you're on, you want to invert the inverse bicep curl, and you can see there's a slightly different muscles that will be exercised. From the here, you turn the muscle, or you turn the hand over, and you'll see the muscle extend a little. A slightly different group of muscles is activating when you have an inverse bicep curl. And it is also activating the muscles in your forearm. So doing it palm up and then palm down. And when you're doing these, the thumb is on top. You're not holding the weight like this, you're holding the weight like this. And that's gonna make sure that you have to activate your grip and your forearm as well to make sure they're working out. Switch it over. Thumb on top. Okay, that's our biceps.